We'll start with the basics of combat. You can have a maximum of 3 monsters in your party. Each turn you generate Aether. Aether functions as mana to spend on abilities. There are 5 Aether types: Fire, Earth, Water, Wind, and Wild. Each monster has a combination of Aether types that they receive each turn and use for their abilities. Wild Aether can be used for any type of move, though it's a lot less common to see but very useful. Every enemy monster has a poise weakness, with a color that matches the element they're weak to. Once you remove that poise weakness, they become staggered. Staggered enemies skip their next action, have 50% weakness to all attacks, and can be captured to be summoned later. The last combat mechanic I want to talk about is Corruption. Probably the part of combat that I had most difficulty dealing with. Corruption essentially lowers your max health. You gain Corruption when you take damage without a shield, so shielding becomes a huge priority for you. There are about 15 monsters that you can collect and use in the demo. There's a large variety of the monster specialties you can use, like healing, burn, regeneration, sidekick, to name a few. I won't go into the details of all the different types, but each monster felt like they worked well on their own, and even better if you synergize them with other types. Leveling up lets you choose one of 3 abilities or auras, and you can get rerolls later in the game. As you start your run, you have some choices in your starting monster, but you can only pick one. Fairly often you come across monster springs, which allow you to either summon or rebirth your monsters. Summoning monsters adds a new member to your team. You can replace current team members if they've received too much corruption, died, or if they just don't synergize well. Rebirthing monsters is essentially resetting them. They automatically level up to 1 level behind your strongest mon, but you get to choose new abilities. So rebirthing monster has some drawbacks. You get shafted by losing good abilities and items, and the main reason you want to rebirth a monster is to remove corruption. Shields can be difficult to come by, so I was usually playing my runs with about 70 to 80% of my health. You can get items that give you shields, but they usually are pretty small, so I wasn't prioritizing them. You can only summon monsters you have a soul of. You can get these souls after combat encounters or capturing them during battle. Additionally, you can soul bond a monster to be available in any run. Aethermancer takes familiar aspects of roguelites and tweaks them slightly. You can choose which area you want to go in. Visit the merchant, witch, knight, or a monster spring. But each area has a handful of enemies that you can face. These enemies can be optional. That is, sometimes you can avoid them, you can try to sneak around them, but I don't know why you would want to do that. The difficulty ramps up in the second biome, so you don't really want to miss out on valuable experience. There's the merchant, who doesn't love a good shop. The witch offers you a new perk and a small stat boost. The knight grants you an upgraded item. We covered the monster spring previously, but there are several choices you can make in how you want to move through the biomes.